各位女士、各位先生、各位媒体朋友，欢迎出席玉山论坛场边记者会。我们今天非常高兴欢迎美国前驻联合国大使克拉夫特女士访台。克拉夫特大使本次应主办单位台亚会的邀请，出席玉山论坛，担任开幕式的致辞贵宾，并担任今天的午餐的发表专题演说。克拉夫特大使在担任美国驻加拿大大使以及美国驻联合国常任代表期间，展现对我国参与联合国体系的支持，是台湾的坚实友人。本次记者会将针对克拉夫特大使此次访台的旨趣以及希望达成的目标进行说明，以及回答媒体朋友的提问。
Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, welcome to the Yushan Forum press conference. First, we sincerely welcome the 30th U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Kelly Craft, to Taiwan. Ambassador Craft was invited by the Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation to attend the Yushan Forum as a distinguished guest to deliver a keynote speech during the opening ceremony and at the luncheon. Ambassador Craft showed her staunch support for Taiwan's participation in the United Nations system when she served as the U.S. Ambassador to Canada and the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations. This demonstrates that Ambassador Craft is a true international friend of Taiwan. During this press conference, we'll discuss the goals of Ambassador Craft's visit and leave time for questions from the media.
一开始，我们先邀请克拉夫特大使为我们的媒体朋友说几句话。
To begin, I would like to welcome Ambassador Kelly Craft to say a few words to our friends from the media.
Thank you and good afternoon. Use the microphone. Thank you. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
And good afternoon. First of all, I have to say what an honor it is to be in your country. It's an honor to be here, especially during this globally very stressful time. And more important, to be here representing my country as a private citizen.
各位媒体的朋友，午安。首先呢，我要说，我非常荣幸能够造访到台湾，尤其是在这个全球都非常紧张的时刻，能够以一个私人公民的美国人的身份，能够代表美国来到台湾。
The integrity of nations is the first principle of international order. Taiwan's integrity has been under threat, implicit and explicit, for some time. And I feel it is the duty of those who respect democracy and who have concerns about the international order to provide Taiwan the support and assurance while it is under this menacing shadow. Peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait is very important. Taiwan opposes any unilateral change to the status quo, especially with the use of force.
首先呢，就是各国的健全跟完整呢，是我们在国际秩序当中最首要的原则。那因此，台湾的健全完整攸关到全世界的健全以及完整。那基本上，台湾现在的健全完整也是，无论是受到含蓄还是直接的方式呢，都在备受威胁。因此，全世界只要是尊重民主，而且关心世界秩序的人，都有这个责任，能够继续来支持台湾，并且让台湾的安全跟健全呢能够获得确保。我们知道台海的稳定以及和平非常的重要。那台湾呢本身也反对单方面的改变台海现状，尤其是透过武力改变现状。
And as a private citizen, as an American, I am really proud to see the Biden administration continue this strong commitment to Taiwan. But I have to say, the turbulence of today's world, Ukraine, Israel, the loss of will in Western powers, is in the context in which Taiwan's fate is in question. And I have to stress to you, now is not the time for complacency.
身为一个美国人以及美国的私有公民呢，我非常的荣幸，能够看到拜登的政府持续的对台湾的承诺坚若磐石。那今天我们在这个世界的局势当中，有非常多紧张的情况，例如说像是乌克兰的情势、以色列的情势，以及西方世界的冷漠，使得台湾未来的命运呢也是遭受质疑。所以在这样子的时间点，我要特别强调，我们绝对不能松懈。
我们现在呢就开放媒体朋友的提问。那有问题，欢迎媒体朋友举手发问。那也告诉我们您的大名以及您所属的媒体。
We will now open the floor to questions from the media. Please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question, and please let us know your name and the media you represent when asking a question.
好，中央社。
Hi, Ambassador. I'm Joseph from Central News Agency. First, welcome to Taiwan.
Thank you.
We have been expecting you since 2021, and I know that you were originally planning to come to visit Taiwan back then. So how do you feel that you finally make that trip this time? And the second part of my question is that you become almost like a celebrity in Taiwan because of the black bear you have carried and you took photos with. So we're just curious where the black bear is right now.
Well, I have to say that the black bear travels with me. And I have 12 grandchildren who all know the black bear just as if it's their most favorite bedtime stuffed animal. And the reasoning from behind Thai Bear is coming to Taiwan on my expected trip as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and being suddenly pulled from this trip because of the threat from China, from the Chinese Communist Party. More importantly, my concern were the Taiwanese. My concern for myself was secondary. And I think it's really important to understand that America stands firm with Taiwan. And China may sanction me, they may threaten me, but here I am.
好的，刚刚的提问，中央社的 Joseph 就是说，至少2021年，其实原本大使本身克拉夫特大使本来是要访问台湾的，那次没有没有成行，然后这次来有什么样的感受？再就是说，克拉夫特大使在台湾其实也是有很好的一个名声，那主要也是因为就是有一个照片，又是跟台湾黑熊的娃娃一起照的照片。那对此的回复就是说，克拉夫特大使基本上在旅行的时候呢，都会带着台湾黑熊。那他的12个孙子呢，本身也都非常喜欢这只台湾黑熊，都希望说可以在睡觉的时候抱着这只台湾黑熊。那这只黑熊它其实最后面背后更大的一个意义，就是说，在原本2021年预计要以驻联合国大使身份访问台湾的时候。那个时候取消的行程，主要是因为受到了来自中共的威胁。但是克拉夫特大使当时受到威胁并被制裁的时候，他反而首先担心的是台湾人，而不是他自己本身。那其实更重要的一点就是说，透过这样子的一个展现呢，可以告诉大家，美国是坚定的跟台湾站在一起的。那就算克拉夫特大使本人可以被中共威胁、被制裁，还是要坚定的支持台湾。
还有没有其他的提问？媒体朋友
Any more questions?
来，自由。
Good afternoon, Madam Ambassador. I'm Chen Yu from the Liberty Times. Our government is committed to promoting meaningful participation in the UN systems, and while facing lots of systematic discrimination, most pressure by China. Was there anything that impressed you the most during your tenure? And in your opinion, how could Taiwan, the United States, and like-minded partners could counter the malice interference inside the UN system from China? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very appropriate question. So thank you for your questions, right?
Ambassador, maybe in translation
Yes, okay.
first.
好的，自由的成语
Sorry.
提问，就是说现在之前您在致辞的时候特别有谈到，就是说要进一步去推广台湾在联合国体系当中的积极的参与，尤其是要对抗就是由中国主导在联合国体系之内对台湾的系统性的歧视。那您在担任驻联合国大使期间，请问您用哪些方法来进一步追求刚刚上述这一点，以及台湾、美国以及理念相近国家要如何反制中共在联合国体系当中所造成的这样子的一个腐败现象
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's very, very appropriate to right now. We are approaching October 28th, which would be the 52nd anniversary of UN Resolution 2758. And I see this as there is absolutely no basis for Taiwan not to be included in a role in the United Nations. And you need to really look no further than just September of this year, as we all witnessed the UN General Assembly High-Level Week and the fact that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals was the highlight. Think about the sustainable goals and how Taiwan is the positive growth. You have the lowest poverty rate in all of the Asian countries. Your education is second to none. We have to look at your sustainable cities as an example of one of the sustainable goals in providing safer communities for people. You empower women. All 17 goals, if Taiwan was in the UN system, we would have had success. So I think it's really important at this moment to discuss the success that we would have had, including Taiwan. And as I said, there is no basis for not allowing Taiwan to play a role within the United Nations. And it was an honor every day to be able to speak about Taiwan and speak positively on the attributions and what they have already done for our country, for the United States, and across the world, especially during the COVID pandemic. And I think it's really important to make a statement that Taiwan is a sovereign state. Whether or not the United States or any other country for that matter has diplomatic relations, Taiwan is a sovereign state. And as a private citizen, I believe we should have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. And that is one of the reasons, as a private citizen, that I made this trip, which is an honor of a lifetime to be here.
谢谢您刚刚的提问，我相信这个提问的时机点非常的妥善，因为接下来10月28号我们就要去纪念275炮决议文的第52周年。那我认为这个决议文并不能作为一个基础或理由来排除台湾，尤其是在我们前不久9月才刚结束的联合国大会当中，特别就永续发展目标的这些会议当中呢，其实就是一个很好的亮点。因为如果你去看所有17个永续发展目标，台湾的各项的成就都非常的卓越。例如说，台湾的贫穷率是全亚洲最低，台湾的教育的品质是全世界最佳。除此之外，台湾的永续城市也提供了台湾人民非常安全宜居的社区。台湾甚至也在女性赋权方面呢，也是做得非常的好的。纵观整个全部17个永续发展目标，台湾都非常的成功。因此呢，我们没有理由或不能用任何的基础去排除掉台湾。甚至呢，如果我们把台湾的成就也纳入到我们的联合国体系当中的话，我们17项的永续发展目标都会取得更卓越的成功。我们可以去讨论，如果纳入台湾，会取得怎么样进一步的成功。所以呢，我在担任大使期间，也非常荣幸能够每一天都能够为台湾挺身而出，说明就是台湾无论是在永续发展目标的成就也好，还是在疫情期间，台湾对于美国以及全世界的成就也好。当然呢，我觉得有一点我必须要强调，就作为一个美国的私人公民，我要特别强调，台湾是一个主权独立的国家，无论美国还是任何国家跟台湾有没有邦交关系。那身为一个美国的私人公民，我相信美国应该要同台湾建立邦交关系。那也因此呢，此次我很高兴、很荣幸能够作为一个美国私人公民访问台湾。
谢谢。
Thank you.
还有没有其他的提问？
Any other questions?
Well, if I may make a statement, that I think it's very important, especially with the media, that you are the voice for Taiwan. And you must stress that Taiwan is a sovereign state. And as an American, we must stand with our allies and our partners, because to abandon one is to abandon them all.
这边我要特别跟媒体朋友们补充，就是各位是媒体人，是台湾的声音。那么我要特别强调，您们也应该要强调，台湾是个主权国家。我自己身为美国人， 我们都是美国，就是跟我们的伙伴以及盟友站在一起的。我们抛弃一个伙伴或盟友，就是抛弃所有的伙伴以及盟友。
好，还有没有其他的提问？
Any more questions?
中央社雅思。
Hello, I'm Novia from Central News Agency. I will address my question in Chinese. So, 我想问的是，就是大使刚刚在演讲中有提到，希望美国可以从战略模糊转为战略清晰。那我想请教，但是现在在美国政府的政策当中，似乎是认为这样有可能会对中国形成挑衅，而不建议采取这样的做法，会觉得有可能会促使中国马上发动战争。
Right. So in your remarks, you stated that the United States should move from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity. But the current U.S. policy believes that this would provoke China into waging a war against Taiwan and advise against this move. So what is your view on this?
As a private citizen, first of all, make the statement very clear. Taiwan is a sovereign state. Whether or not the United States or any country has diplomatic relations, it's really important to know that Taiwan is a sovereign state. As a personal, private citizen of the United States, I think that the United States should have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Thank you for your question.
好，回答您的问题。身为一个美国私人公民，我认为无论美国还是任何国家跟台湾是否有邦交，台湾就是一个主权国家。那身为一个私人公民，我也认为台湾应该美国应该同台湾建交。这就是我对您的问题的回答。
谢谢。哎，这位小姐。
Hello, I'm Hong Qingquan from Mirror Media Magazine. You just mentioned being threatened by China, by CCP, specifically, how did they threaten you? And could you elaborate more? Like, did they harass you through emails or phone calls, or did they employ other methods to threaten you? Thank you.
Well, I think it's very fair to express to you that there were words said to me by the representative from China, from the PRC, to me personally, a one-on-one meeting that encouraged me not to travel to Taiwan. That was my decision as a diplomat to travel to Taiwan, because of my firm stand with Taiwan. When we were literally leaving to Taiwan, my team and myself, we were pulled off the runway because of the threats from the Chinese Communist Party. Shortly thereafter, because I wasn't going to let that threat hinder my engagement in placing Taiwan in the UN. So I thought to myself, what's the best way to show them how I feel? So I took that little Taiwan bear, I tucked it in my handbag, and I walked right into the United Nations, into the General Assembly Hall, because I wanted the world to see, not just for the Communist Chinese Party, but all of the 192 member states to see that Taiwan belongs. They have a role in the United Nations. And shortly thereafter, I was sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party, and that's a badge of honor.
好的，刚刚的提问就是说，您刚刚在致辞的时候提到，就是您受到中共的威胁，请分享一下您具体怎么被威胁，是有电邮还是电话的骚扰，还是其他方式？对此，大使的回答是说，事实上在出发要访台之前呢，就有中共的外交官特别私下1对1的会面，然后透过言语呢去鼓励大使放弃访问台湾。但是身为外交官，大使呢本身还是决定要访台，因为他跟台湾是坚定的站在一起。那就准备要启程要前往台湾的时候，整个出访的团队还是从跑道上面，这个整个飞机呢就被移除了，就是必须要掉头。 那主要是因为还是有中共明显的要去威胁，并且透过这份威胁去阻止这架飞机起飞。那后来大使就思考说，对此的感受，我用什么方式来用最好的方式来向中共表达，不只是对中共，对全世界，还有对超过190个联合国的会员国去表达。那大使所采取的方式就是拿着台湾黑熊，就是走到联合国大会的大会堂去，然后去表明，就是台湾在联合国是应有一席之地，而且是有角色可以扮演的。那后来当然这么做之后，受到了中共的制裁。那对于中共的制裁，大使以你为荣。
好，谢谢。还有没有其他的媒体朋友提问？
Any other questions?
来，《自由时报》。
Your third question. Okay.
Yes, Madam Ambassador, you just mentioned that abandon one is abandon all. Yes, I cannot agree you more. But the U.S., the United States, is about to hold a presidential election next year. But now inside the Republican, there are different voices that in regarding of support for Ukraine. Some say, oh, maybe we should think about the support for Ukraine more. And what might be the impact on Taiwan or on the international society? What is your opinion? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the world is watching very closely because Ukraine, Taiwan, they're linked, right? But the situation on providing Ukraine with additional aid, we stand with Ukraine. And this should never be an or situation. It's an and situation.
好，刚刚的问题就是说，在先前的回答当中，我特别谈到，就是抛弃一个盟友，就是抛弃所有盟友。那接下来美国即将总统大选在即，共和党内部有些声音，有些是希望说能够持续支持乌克兰，有些则是检讨对乌克兰的支持。那像这样子的讨论，对于台湾以及国际社会有哪些影响？对此，大使的回答是说，其实全世界都在紧密的关注美国的大选以及乌克兰的情势，因为乌克兰跟台湾之间的关系是有关联性的。那美国之所以会提供乌克兰援助，是因为美国跟乌克兰站在一起，所以呢，其实这并不是鱼与熊掌的问题，而是其实全部都必须兼顾的问题。
好，还有没有其他的提问？
Any more questions?
关键。
I'm Abby Huang from the Newslands. I have two questions for you. And first, you mentioned about freedom in Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And we know freedom costs a lot. And now Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan are awaiting U.S. military aid. So we see in U.S. Congress, many argue to cut this fund to boost another. So how can the U.S. ensure Taiwanese that the U.S. will support Taiwan in the future? And my second question is, you mentioned that as long as you have a voice, U.S. will stand with Taiwan. But you also mentioned you as a private citizen to visit Taiwan this time. So I wonder, what would you do in the future to help Taiwan specifically?
I think as a private citizen, and I'm speaking from a private citizen, I have maintained what I have said as a public servant, as an ambassador, and I have continued from a personal perspective to speak about Taiwan as much as possible in different settings. And when you speak about Ukraine, Taiwan are intrinsically linked. And let's think about that for a minute. China, the Chinese Communist Party, Chairman Xi is watching us very closely. If we are not willing to provide the aid for Ukraine, because Ukraine is fighting Europe's war. Ukraine is protecting all of the countries, the NATO countries. So what does that tell the Chinese Communist Party? It would tell them that we're not willing to bring in our troops for Taiwan. So as a personal citizen, I feel it imperative to speak to the fact that this is intrinsically linked. I can't speak, obviously, as a member. I'm not a member of Congress. I can't speak as a public official. But I can tell you that I stand firm with Ukraine, as well as Taiwan, as well as Israel. And I think it's very important that people understand that they are intrinsically linked.
好的，刚刚的提问是说，您特别有提到，无论是乌克兰、以色列还是台湾的自由都非常的重要，而且这三个国家本身也都有接受美国的军事援助。可是呢，就是说美国的国会当中有一些声音是说，可能要减少一些资源，去增加另外一方面的资源。那在这种情况之下，怎么样确保台湾能够获得美国给台湾需要的相关援助？那再来就是说，您刚刚也有特别发表谈话，就是说，身为一个私人的美国的公民哦，就是说，就必须坚定的跟台湾站在一起。可是现在您是一个私人的公民，您未来会做出哪些作为来继续帮助台湾？那对此大使的回答是说，的确就是现在身为一个个人、一个私人公民的发言呢，事实上是必须保持之前身为大使还有一个公众人物所发表的这些言论，这些言论都是无论身份都是一致的。那基本上现在能够做的，就是在在尽可能更多的场合去多为台湾说一点话。那其中要对外去释放的一个很重要的消息讯号呢，就是说乌克兰跟台湾在本质上是有连结的。因为乌克兰战争在开打，习近平其实本身也是非常紧密的在关注。那如果美国就此放弃对乌克兰援助，那乌克兰作为第一线，后续还会影响到北约以及整个欧洲。所以说，如果美国放弃了乌克兰，等于是向中共发出一个讯号，就是说，如果台湾出事，美国也会同样放弃。所以，作为一个私人公民，作为一个个人，我认为一定要特别去强调台湾跟乌克兰之间这样子一个本质性的连结。现在大使虽然已经不是官员了，也没有国会议员的身份，但是还是必须要坚定的跟乌克兰、跟台湾还有以色列站在一起，也要特别的让外界都充分的了解，并且充分的强调台湾跟乌克兰还有以色列之间的本质上的连接。
And I think it's very important that you all express to the world that the Taiwanese are not advocating for changing status quo. Those who are advocating the threat to the status quo is coming from the PRC. And it's important that the world knows that Taiwanese are not advocating for change in status quo.
更重要的一点，我们一定要特别的向全世界，让全世界了解，台湾并不是那个提倡要改变台海现状的一方，提倡改变现状的那一方呢，反而是中华人民共和国。这一点呢，全世界应该都要知道。
好，非常谢谢大使。那还有没有其他媒体的提问？
Thank you, Ambassador. Is there any more question?
都没有其他提问了吗？
No more question?
And no more question. Ambassador, do you want to add anything?
You know, I just want to say what an honor it is to be able to have the opportunity to speak about Taiwan in an official role. But now I've taken that official role and it's become very personal as my private citizen role. And you only need to be here 5 minutes when you arrive to understand the calmness in Taiwan, the daily focus on prosperity, on eradicating poverty, on your sustainable cities, on your person-to-person, your people-to-people, student-to-student relationships. And it's very encouraging for me to see a very peaceful, a Taiwan that not only has affected the United States, but in my own personal life, Kentucky, and you have a role in the rest of the world to make the world a better place.
最后呢，跟大家分享，我真的是非常的荣幸。之前有 正式的官职的时候呢，一直有这个机会能够为台湾发声。那现在呢，我对于台湾的支持越来越个人，有这样的个人情感，因此现在如今我也能够以一个私人的公民，能够访问台湾，并且持续的发声支持台湾。事实上，来到台湾，光是5分钟就能够充分感受到台湾人在巨大的威胁之下，仍然保持非常的冷静，仍然非常专注在怎么样去追求更多的繁荣，去除贫穷，并且可以充分感受到人与人之间的这样子紧密的连结跟关系。台湾这个地方还维持着非常非常和平的一个气氛。那台湾不只是对于美国有产生正面的影响，对于我来自的州肯塔基州，以及对于整个全世界，基本上都有更重要的角色可以扮演，并且能够让全世界都能够成为更美好的地方。
那如果媒体朋友没有进一步的提问的话，那我们今天的记者会就到此结束。那我们非常谢谢克拉夫特大使今天的拨冗出席，也非常谢谢媒体朋友的出席。那我们预祝克拉夫特大使在台湾这次的参访期间能够成果丰硕。那 Enjoy your stay。那也欢迎大使未来继续能够再来访问台湾。谢谢。
If there's no more question, I would like to conclude today's press conference. And I want to also thank again Ambassador Kelly Craft for attending today's conference and extend our heartfelt appreciation for Ambassador Craft's support. We wish you a very fruitful journey in Taiwan and to see you again in Taiwan in the future. Many thanks to also the media as well for taking time to join us today.
They would like to have a photo, you with the bear.
My grandchildren are going to be the beneficiaries of their new Thai bears, which has it's taken over from the teddy bears that they used to have. So thank you.
这次很高兴能够收到这么多台湾黑熊，我的孙子们会是最大的受益者，因为他们可以汰换掉他们的泰迪熊，改成抱台湾黑熊在床上晚上睡觉。